Today, Ashley Coffey joins me. He's born in Leeds, but has played in a variety of countries such as Finland, Sweden, and so much more. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Nice to be with you, Jamie.
Well, it's been a long time coming, hasn't it? I mean, I had to let you just play football and score all these goals before we had to ask you once again to come back on. So, talk to us about your upbringing in Leeds, because obviously you were a mascot, you were a season ticket holder. What was it like to be brought up in Leeds?
Yeah, it was good. Obviously, I played junior football just for a local team. So obviously I started very, very young, like 5-year-old. Played in like the district teams around Leeds. And then when I was around 11, 12, I got picked up by Bradford City. So I was there until maybe 15, close to 16. And then got released from there. It was pretty heartbreaking. I thought, well, that's my dream over. I'll probably never get the chance to play professional football again. I was devastated with that. And then from there I went to college and did a course there, which basically allowed me to pick up a qualification there, whilst kind of playing an athlete's lifestyle. Really, it was like a combined BTEC course, and then training and playing on Wednesdays, training every day. So really enjoyed that. Obviously with my background in Leeds, obviously I support Leeds United. So I actually got a trial from Leeds United after college. Neil Warnock was the manager. And my college manager was one of his scouts. So he just basically said to me, "Do you want to come for a trial?" And I said, "Yeah." And I had maybe 2 to 3 weeks there. But they had a lot of quality players, so I didn't actually get in. So, but the experience was really good. Meeting a lot of the players that, a lot of them have gone on to have really, really good careers. It was an enjoyable time.
You mentioned that you signed for Bradford at 15, 16. Before then, 13, 14, 12. When did you actually start to play football? Because I know for myself, being nowhere near your level in grassroots level, I started probably playing at the age of about 12 or 13. So really late, considering a lot of the people that I play with are playing from the ages of 4 or 5. So when did you start to play football?
Yeah, so I was probably around 5, I'd say. I think my dad obviously really pushed me to get into it, but I'm glad that he did, because he was a really good player as well. And like at that age, just played with my friends and really enjoyed it, and then kind of progressed.
Compared to the people you were playing with from the ages of about 15, 16, were you better than the rest of them? What was that like? Was the level in quality pretty big at the time?
Yeah, I think I was a good player, and probably one of the better ones in my age group. There was a couple of it, like when I started school, maybe 11, 12, there was a lot of really good players in my school team. We had a lot of like players playing in the academies. One was at Bradford with me, one was at Man United, one was at Huddersfield. So we had a really good school team. But I'd kind of back myself to be one of the best players in that age group. Yeah.
At 15, you were released from Bradford for being too slow, is what the coaches said to you. That must have been quite something to take in, because we know how adaptable players can be. Look at Lukaku, for example.
Yeah.
Yes, he has his rough patches, but he's a slow player. That is a striker. So what did you think, or what did you have to process when you were being told that you were too slow to be in the academy?
To be honest, Jamie, it was really hard. I scored a lot of goals that year as well. So there was 3 strikers that were kind of rotating throughout the season, and me and then 2 others. And I probably played less than them, but I scored a lot of goals that season. I think I scored about between 15 and 20. So my output was really good, in terms of goals and kind of linking the game and bringing other people into play. So obviously to hear that, at 15, when you think you've had a really good season, that yeah, we like you, but we don't think you've got enough pace. It was disappointing. It was really disappointing. Probably my biggest heartbreak in football, that really, because you just genuinely think like that's it, it's done. I probably won't get another opportunity to kind of show myself, especially in England, because well, you obviously know it's hard to make it in England. So yeah, it was hard to come back from that, really.
Do you criticise England's academies? Because you just mentioned there, and you quoted it, we like you, but you're too slow. We like you, but you're basically not good enough, is what they're trying to tell you in better terms. Is that a criticism of the English academy? Because now in recent times, we've seen academies try to help players with that next step after they get released from Crystal Palace or from Swansea or whoever it may be. When you were playing back then, did they just kind of get rid of you and that was it?
Yeah, I mean, the way that they did it was kind of pretty brutal. They took me and my dad into a room, basically said that they weren't offering me a new contract. However, in 6 months' time, I would retrial. So after I'd been released, they said, "Yeah, you can come back and retrial and see how you get on." But I never got the phone call back. So yeah, there was a few guys around that time at Bradford that were just kind of, I don't know, they saw different players to me that were better suited, which is fair enough. But I thought that they kind of handled it in a pretty bad way.
How would you handle it if you were put in that role? How would you do it differently? Because I think you're telling me that it was a very disappointing scenario to be in. So I'm presuming you would have handled it in probably a much better way, because that sounds like it was a very bad time.
Yeah, I think obviously, I think if you're gonna say to a player that you're not good enough or you're not quick enough or whatever, and then say, yeah, you can retrial in 6 months, actually carry that out. Do you know what I mean? Because if I'd have known that, I mean, if I'd have known that I was to retrial in another 6 months, I'd have worked my arse off. Do you know what I mean? To try and prove that I can improve my pace and stuff like that. But I never really got an opportunity, and yeah, it's pretty brutal academy football and the way it is. Yeah, it's a lot different to other countries.
Yeah, well, obviously you've been to loads of other countries. So how does that kind of pair up? Because people have mentioned before that they're trying to make players robots from the ages of 7 or 8, where they go to training five out of the 7 days a week and just constantly pounding them with so much information and so much drills. In other countries, Sweden, Finland, that you have played in, is it a bit more relaxed for the younger players?
It is more relaxed, I would say, in terms of demands. However, Sweden and Finland train, I'd say, even more than England. Even like the young players, and I just think they do it. They're training too much. Do you know what I mean? There's too much pressure on it at a young age. From a young age, you should be able to enjoy it with your friends and just maybe I'd say maybe 2-3 times a week. 3 times being max is what you need, because you get bored. I mean, a lot of players get bored and like they're out of football by the age of 12, 13, and like it's not sustainable, I don't think. So it's different in Finland, less demands, but I also think that they train more.
There's also money-making machines such as scholarships and things like that, where they're also used as a bit of a false hope to people who, well, from my opinion anyway, who would go out to a place like America, play football, pay money to also do a degree as well. So it's, again, kind of saying, you might not be good enough to play, but here's another qualification just in case. I suppose you sort of took that route away from the scholarship side. You went to university because you thought your pro journey would be finished once you got released from Bradford City. So what did you go and study in Teesside University, and was it a good decision in the end for you to have gone there?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Jamie, I went to university just to get away from home, really, and just go out and have a good time and live that that university lifestyle. I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. First year I actually failed because I was just, I just wasn't ready for university at all. I was going out with my mates, drinking, going out all the time, and partying quite a lot. Which I loved, by the way. Like it was probably one of the best times of my life. But yeah, then kind of that. So I failed the first year, and then the second year I kind of had a year out, but worked and was still involved in the university. And then the following year, I started again doing the same course that I failed. So that took me 3 years. So in total, it was like a 5-year period. So yeah, it was quite a long time. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it going to university. I played in the uni team straight away. Met a lot of my friends now that I still see today, kind of at university. And that's when I started playing like semi-pro, kind of just earning a bit of money on the side. So I was one of my roommates in the first year. He was playing at a team up in the northeast called West Auckland, and he said to me, he said, "Do you want to come and train with us?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." So I ended up going and really enjoyed it, and ended up playing there for a few years, and then moved on to a team called Newton Aycliffe, and then a team called Mask, and that's when I ended up in Whitby Town. So it was quite the journey playing. I mean, I was training Monday, playing Tuesday semi-pro, playing Wednesday for the uni team, off Thursday, trained Friday, then game Saturday for the semi-pro team. So it was, I mean, my body was battered by the end of it, as well as going out drinking quite a lot as well. So,
Well, I
it
can
was,
imagine it. I can
yeah,
imagine it would have been a bit of a crazy time, right? But when you were
yeah,
at
it was.
Teesside University, you
Yeah, I
played
was.
obviously
Yeah,
at West Auckland Town. 3 goals in 14 games. I believe in one of those seasons you were there for a few. What
yeah.
was that like, your first introduction into semi-professional football? How would you compare it to a time at your academy? Because obviously you're playing a lot more proper games in the semi-pro team.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Jamie, it was like, I mean, at first it was really tough because back then I was stick thin, so I was really skinny, and then you're playing against like some men really, and that was the first time I've ever played against like people a lot older than me. So it took some time, a couple of years to get used to playing against men and playing on tough pitches and tough players really, and there is a lot of quality in those leagues as well. But yeah, it took a little bit of time.
And then, of course, Newton Aycliffe came along, October 2014. Did you just decide to move across the semi-pro teams for a new team, a new sort of experience? Why did you decide to join this team?
So basically, the manager that was at West Auckland, he went to Newton Aycliffe, so he took me with him. But I was actually playing centre midfield back then, so I played like left side of a 3 midfield. And yeah, he basically took me there, and I was there, I don't know, maybe a year and a half, 2 years. And then kind of, wanted a bit of a change from there, and wanted to be a bit closer to where I was studying. So that's when I went to go to Mask, and they played me up front. So I went to Mask United for a while, but then I got an injury that kept me out for like 14 months. So that was pretty tough coming back from that. And yeah, I was there maybe about a year or something like that, 9 months, something like that. And then the injury happened, and then I was out for 14 months then.
So when you were out for 14 months, how did you occupy your time? 14 months is well over a year, isn't it, to be not
Yeah.
playing football, and then the rehabilitation of coming back. What injury was it, and how did you survive that period?
Yeah, so it was actually, I had tendonitis, chronic tendonitis in both knees. I got my left one operated on first. So then I started doing the rehab for that. And that was coming along really well, but my right one was still quite bad as well. So I just made the decision there and then just to get that one done as well. So yeah, I mean it was a tough period because I'd finished university. I felt a little bit lost in terms of obviously being injured. Like I didn't know what to do after university, like what I should do and what path I should go down. So I was working like 3 or 4 different part-time jobs, all within sport. But it was like it wasn't really sustainable doing that. So yeah, it was pretty tough. Yeah, and then I finally came back and signed for Whitby Town.
And Whitby Town, how did that go? 2 goals in the space of 12 games in the Northern Premier League.
Yeah, it's frustrating actually because I actually scored a hat trick in that period, but the team got kicked out of the league because they didn't I don't know what, basically got kicked out, so the results became null. So I actually scored a hat trick there. But yeah, it was good. I mean, obviously I came back from injury and it took me a while to get going. But to be honest, Jamie, I just felt like I'd had enough of playing on bad pitches against like real physical blokes that just kind of want to kick you around, and I wanted a bit of a change really. And that's obviously when I decided to move to Sweden.
How did you just move to Sweden? Did you get offered a deal first, or did you go over there seeking another deal?
Well, my ex-girlfriend was Swedish, so I emailed loads of different clubs to basically try and get a trial. I think I emailed probably over 70 clubs around Sweden. Maybe 2 or 3 got back to me. So yeah, it was tough. I went for a couple of trials, and then I signed for a team called Huddinge, and they basically said to me, "Yeah, we want to sign you straight away. When can you come?" So decided to move there. Played there half a season. Did pretty well. I scored like 12 goals in 11 games. So it was a really positive move, and I felt good because, like I said earlier, in Sweden and Finland, they take the training really seriously, and that's what I felt like I needed to kind of be in a routine where I'm training hard and playing hard. That suited me perfectly, and I could really focus on the football.
You're also at the same time teaching, I believe, as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was working in an English school in Sweden, so I was cover teaching and working 1-to-1 with some difficult students. So yeah, it was really good because that's where I met my current girlfriend as well at the school. So yeah, she came along there, and yeah, it was a good time. I really enjoyed it. I mean, it was really long days working full time and then playing part time. But yeah, really pleased that I did it.
How did, obviously, with Brexit and all these foreign things going on at the time, work with the going over to Sweden? Was it pretty easy, or was it pretty hard to get over there?
I mean, for me, it was quite easy, really. I think it was like the year after it became difficult for players to kind of get visas and stuff like that. So I was a little bit lucky to get that. And there was like a period where you could live in Sweden without all these visas that you need now. So I was pretty lucky with that, and obviously I worked at the school as well, which helped. So I got my social security number and stuff like that in Sweden. So that was really good. But obviously now it's so much harder to get it, especially to play at a lower level in Sweden.
But I suppose once you're in the door, you're in the door, right? So now, do you have any problem with moving to any of these countries?
I mean, I did in Finland. I needed a visa in Finland, like a working visa. I've got residency in Sweden until like 2027. So we'll need to sort that over the next few years. But yeah, Brexit's made it very, very hard.
Well, I can only imagine. And obviously, being an English player going abroad, you don't really have a lot of English players, and as you could probably tell me, playing in Sweden and Finland and Scandinavia. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few. I don't know if you've seen, but there's a page called English Players Abroad, and that basically started off my journey. Really inspired me. There was two players in particular that was doing really great things in Sweden. It was Jamie.Mccreedy, who's kind of become a friend that I speak to quite a bit. And yeah, it was him, and then Curtis Edwards as well, who was also playing at Östersund under Graham Potter. And those two kind of really inspired me to say, yeah, well, I want to go and try it in Sweden and see what I can do. And I'm thankful that I did do that. And yeah, the English Players Abroad, that's where the idea really started for me.
I often tell people, and this is absolutely with my zero knowledge, but just from people that I hear like yourself and agents as well, I always try and understand the best I can that playing in England as a 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old isn't the best of options. Go abroad, go to Scandinavia if you can with a visa. Eastern Europe's a really good one, but also Gibraltar, which I've got a pretty nice, warm place in my heart for. But do you agree with me? Do you think it is good for English players, especially who want to play at the high level, to go abroad first, give that a go, and then possibly return?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been brilliant for me. I've really enjoyed it. Obviously, I wasn't playing at a great level when I was playing in England, but I also thought that if I did get an opportunity to play somewhere, I'd do well. And like my body wasn't really used to that. I mean, I was really quite skinny. And then when I went to Sweden, I got bang into the training, and I was kind of embedded into the culture and the lifestyle. So I trained like a professional athlete, and that really helped me out and took me to the next level, I believe.
Well, when you first moved to Sweden, as you said, 12 goals in the second half of the season. Following a move to side Hajin, you were the top scorer in the league, 28 goals, 29 games. That's some record for someone who's just getting back into football.
Yeah, I mean, I actually signed for Haninge it was literally maybe 2 weeks after the season, because when I played in Huddinge, they won the league of Division 2, so step 4 in Swedish football, and I scored a hat trick against them on the last game of the season, and they were all partying, and obviously I was pleased that I'd scored 3. And they contacted me directly and just said, look, like, obviously we're going up to Division 1, which is step 3. We want you to sign for us. And yeah, I pretty much signed for them straight away. And to be honest, that's probably one of my favourite years. That year in Haninge, I scored 28 goals, and I've still got the record for that league now. And yeah, that's where I felt like I really thought that this could be a possibility of playing professional football abroad. And thankfully that kind of happened.
So you played in the 4th or 3rd, and we're going to talk about the time where you joined the second tier division side in Sweden. Going
Yeah.
through the stages of Sweden, what is the support like in terms of fans and the club culture over there? Because I know some clubs can have really big atmospheres. Let's base it off England, for example.
Yeah.
When you go to a fourth tier side in Stevenage, you're going to have a bit of a different atmosphere to third, and then Championship is probably a bit of a difference. But in those divisions, you've got Sheffield Wednesday, for example, at the Championship that have really good set of fans, and you come to a team local to me like Watford, who sometimes their stadium is pretty quiet. So if you had to rank it in Sweden, what's that like?
I mean, step 4 was, barely any fans. So that's Division 2. So yeah, step 4. Division 1, third tier. It was tough because it was COVID that year. So that kind of messed it up with the fans a little bit. But they get a few fans. And then the step 2, Super Eton. There's the odd team that have got really, really good fans. The team that I actually was at, they didn't get many fans at all, which was a bit annoying. But it depends really which team you play in the Super Eton, because obviously some get a lot and then some barely get any. And then obviously in Allsvenskan, like the top league, there's some teams that get a lot of fans. And then there's a couple of teams near the bottom that don't really get many fans at all. So it's quite a mix. But the fan culture, especially in the top league, is really, really good. The atmospheres at the games are really good, and there's a lot of kind of tifos and fireworks and stuff like that that's around. And yeah, it is good to go to watch a top division game, especially like the Stockholm derbies. They're really impressive.
Well, I've spoken to a few people that have played or coached as well over in Sweden. Dusan Badik being one of them, goalkeeper coach for IFK Varnamo, but now he's just moved to IF Hanami, I think their name is. I've probably pronounced that very badly. You'd know better than me. However, so January 2021, you were in international English school as well. Were you learning English at the time? Because how did you manage to pick up the language?
The Swedish.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm still learning Swedish now for my girlfriend. She wants me to learn it, so I'm still doing it now. I was working in the English school, so a lot of my friends there were English, obviously speaking people, and obviously the kids are taught from a really young age to speak English. So that was really nice to kind of combine that with the football, because the way that I saw it was, I've got a lot of social things going on like at the school, because everyone speaks English, and there was people that were living like near where I lived back home in England. So I got that connection. And then the football, obviously a lot of them were Swedish. But I saw that as, it's nice to get on with people, but I really want to focus and put the work in and try and get to that next level with the football.
Well, you joined AFC Eskilstuna. Please, you can pronounce it better than me.
Yeah, Eskilstuna.
Eskilstuna, and you signed on a 3-year deal. However, after 2 years, you decided to leave. Let's talk about the first year, 2021, coming out of COVID in the UK. What was it like over in Scandinavia with the whole virus?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of started in 2020, and I mean, being in Sweden was probably the best place to be in that time, because obviously there was loads of different rules elsewhere in the world, and it felt like in Sweden that it was quite normal in terms, well, as normal goes. Obviously, it was a lot quieter in places, and there was certain rules in place for COVID, especially with the football and stuff like that, with social distancing and stuff. But yeah, like going into that 2021 season, there was still certain rules with COVID and things, but yeah, it was strange, because obviously I was doing these Zoom calls with my parents, my family, and stuff like that, and they were, I mean, locked up in England, whereas I was still working, I was still playing football, so it was a bit surreal, really. It was a bit strange. So, but I'm kind of glad that they went the way that they did.
So you weren't in England during COVID whatsoever?
No.
Okay, so it would have been a very so if you were just planted in England at the time, I'm sure you would have been pretty scared,
Yeah.
because it was definitely a very scary time for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So 2021, 13 goals, 29 games. I'm guessing the season still went ahead then.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. Yeah. So went ahead as normal.
And talk to me about that season. 13 goals. Were you happy with that number?
Yeah, I mean, it was quite tough for me because obviously it was the first time I played professional football. So it was tough for me at the start because I was working obviously before and then playing part time, but then I went full time. So it took me a while to get used to it really, and get used to the routines and like the lifestyle. And like after maybe 1-2 o'clock, I was free for the rest of the day. I didn't know what to do with myself. I genuinely didn't. And people will probably say, yeah, but you're playing professional football. But it was quite difficult to kind of to get used to it really. And I didn't really start well that season. It took me maybe 4 or 5 months to get into it, and then I started scoring. Then I was really pleased with that season. I got 13 goals, 6 assists, and got a lot of goals in the second half of the season. And then the 2022 season, I trained really hard in the off season. And then basically I got a really freak injury in pre-season. And it was pretty bad. So it took me a 4 or 5, even 6 months, I think it was, to get back fit and get back playing. And thankfully I did, and I did all right in the last half of the season. It was just getting back into it. I'm kind of glad that I just got back into football, because there was a point during that time where I genuinely didn't think that I'd be playing football anymore.
Well, could you tell us what the injury was? Again, 6 months is a lot of time to be out.
Yeah. So basically, I woke up in the middle of the night after train, like it was a pre-season training. I went to bed with a bit of training pain. Just thought it was like just pretty normal. Obviously, tough pre-season. But yeah, woke up in the middle of the night and lost all movement down my left leg and all sensitivity. So I couldn't move my leg at all. So I genuinely woke up thinking that I was like paralyzed in my left side. So I wasn't living with my girlfriend at the time, but I rang her and basically said to her, look, like something's really wrong. You're gonna have to come and see me, basically. And anyway, like I was in a really bad way. Went to the hospital, did loads of tests and stuff like that. Didn't know what it was. And then, they basically found out that my SI joint was really really weak, and couldn't support like the structure in my hip. So it was pretty bad. I mean, I was in bed or like in my apartment for about 2.5 months, not able to do anything. And then I started walking, and I was on crutches for a long time. Started walking again gradually. Started building things up, but must have lost about 10 kilos in about a month. So it was a lot. It was a lot to deal with, and obviously at first you think, obviously I might not play football again, but will I ever be able to walk again? Especially when that happened. It was like so freak, the injury. It was really strange. But thankfully I got back into it. And like I said, did okay for the rest of the season, scored a few important goals. But after that I knew that I needed to have a bit of a change from Sweden and try something different.
Well, Finland came up next in January of 2023. The Finnish top side, AC Oulu. Oulu? How would you say that?
Oulu.
Oulu, perfect. Probably
Yeah,
a very easy thing for you to say, isn't it?
yeah, no.
On a one-year deal with an option for another year. So, how would you rate your time now? The 5th of April, you managed to get your league debut in a 2-0 win, 19 goals in all competitions, 6 assists, 36 games, so many stats. What would you rate your season?
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. Like I said, probably been the best period of my life, really, in terms of football. Went there when it was really, really cold. Took me a couple of games to get into it. In the League Cup, playing indoors, and yeah, it was a bit strange and something that I wasn't really used to. But yeah, hit the ground running really, and had a decent season that season with the team as well. Like, we had a pretty good team. We got to a League Cup final, and then a Finnish Cup semi final. Played with a lot of really good players, and then we had a really difficult second half of the season. Really, we had some tough losses, and managers were changing, and wasn't really kind of sustainable what we were doing. Because I think since I was there, I had 5 managers over 2 years, so it was a lot. It's a little bit like Watford, actually.
Well, yeah, well, we know what Watford are like. They go through managers like it's no one's
I
business.
know.
Although Tom Cleverley's doing a pretty good job.
Yeah. But yeah, it's. I mean, it isn't sustainable. It's like when you're going through managers all the time, it's quite hard. But thankfully, over these last 2 years, I've scored the goals, and I've done pretty well. So I'm just thankful for that.
Well, in that season in 2023, in the league, you were the 3rd highest scorer. The following season, you did even better because you won the Golden Boot. How would you talk to me about that season there? Because 12 goals in the league, tied with Jamie.Mccreedy, winning the Golden Boot. It's a really good feeling, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's been a really good season. I've scored a lot of goals. The team hasn't been that good this year. There's been, like I said, obviously we've had loads of different managers, and we've gone through some really tricky spells. But thankfully, I've scored quite a few goals, so I'm really pleased with that. With the Golden Boot situation, I still feel like I should win it on my own, because he actually got to play two extra games that I wasn't allowed to play in, which is a bit harsh, I'd say. So anyway, I still managed to win the Golden Boot, obviously joint. I'm like I said, I've loved it in Oulu. It's been brilliant. My girlfriend's really enjoyed it. She ended up settling there really well, and it's been a really good time. But on to something else now.
Well, obviously, of course, after the last match of the season, you confirmed that you would leave with 36 goals, making you the 2nd top scorer in the club's history. How on earth does that feel to be in the club's record books for hundreds of years?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty surreal, really. I'll probably look back in a few years, and with real appreciation and stuff like that. But I still feel now that I wanna keep going. I feel like I'm really in the rhythm of doing well and scoring goals, and knowing my play, and how knowing my game and stuff like that. It's good, but obviously I still want more. Obviously, I came into this late professional football, but I feel like I've still got a lot more to give, and hopefully I can show that.
And then talk to us about your love-hate relationship with SJK Seinäjoki fans over in Finland.
Yeah, I mean, they give me a lot of abuse. Like one of the guys there, well, a few of the guys there, English guys. And every time I played against them, I scored. So I mean, I loved it. Like they were just abusing me the whole game, and I was just smiling at them and winking at them and stuff like that. And yeah, they. I think they appreciated me as well. The good guys. And actually, when we played them at the start of the season, I actually went in their kind of clubhouse or like function room where they all have a drink after, and I met them all and like shook their hands and said hello to them. I think they appreciated that because, like I say, it's just a game of football. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, they liked my playing style and like the journey that I've been on, and yeah, it was a little bit of tongue in cheek, really.
Well, it's definitely been an obscure journey compared to what the average 17-year-old footballer would want to have. However, I definitely prefer this one because you're playing in countries that are definitely obscure, but they're so amazing and so different in their own respective rights. So talking about then, you're obviously 30 years of age and you without a club right now. Obviously, there's some leagues that have just finished, such as Sweden, which finished, I believe, 3 or 4 days ago. What is next for you? Would you want to stay in England, go back to Scandinavia, Eastern Europe, America? Where would you want to go?
Yeah, so I've had quite a few offers already. One to go and play in England League Two. But I genuinely don't see myself playing in England. My plan is to go to Asia. And I've kind of dreamt over that over the last 3 or 4 years when I realised that this was a possibility to play professional football. There's talks with clubs in Korea and Japan and China. So that's where I want to be, and hopefully it happens. My agent's working on that now. So now I'm just training as much as I can, getting fit and ready for the next chapter. Because like I said, I do think that I can push on even more and do well there as well.
Sorry to interrupt, but speaking on that offer from the League Two club, that must have been really hard to turn down because you would have had the opportunity to play in League Two, the Carabao Cup, FA Cup, could have played against some decent teams, got promoted, only a few steps away from the Championship. So would that have not been possible at the club? Why did you not want to play in England? Because for me, I'm sure that would have been a very good opportunity. I would have signed it straight away.
Yeah, no, but I think for me, Jamie, like I'm realistic. I like every kind of move that I've done. I realize that it'd be probably harder to stand out in these European leagues than what it is. I think would be it'd be in Asia as well. Like I've really grinded and worked my way up the leagues, and like I wanna go and do well in Asia, and I genuinely think with my playing style, I can do that. Whereas in League Two, it's obviously it's really physical, and it's just a battle and a grind. And I think with how my career is now, obviously being 30, I need to try and reap the rewards of playing in Asia. Obviously compared to like a League Two in England. I think obviously if I was a lot younger, then yeah, it'd be a no-brainer to play in England. But I also have to be realistic and think I'm 30 now. I need to strike when the iron's hot, really. After the season that I've just had.
Well, then, what we always do here at the end of the interview, we always build yourself a FIFA card. So, why don't we go ahead and do that right now? So, your pace, what would that be on EAFC?
Oh my word, maybe 40.
40. Well, you got time to work on that, I'm sure. Shooting, golden boots in the bag. What would that be?
Shooting, I'd say 90.
Passing, is that part of your game?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd probably say 80.
80. Dribbling as a striker, you might not need that at times. Sometimes it may be pretty necessary.
65, maybe.
Defending, I know some strikers do like a bit of a challenge.
No, I like a challenge, but I don't really like to get back so much. I'd probably say 50.
50. And last but not least, physicality. What would that be?
I'd 85.
That's a pretty high FIFA card, I must say. Anyway, Ashley, what an absolute pleasure it's been talking about your whole time in Finland, Sweden, FIFA cards, so much more. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for joining me.
Cheers, Jamie. Really enjoyed it speaking to you.